Oh, there was a good question in the chat. There was actually a really good question in the chat. Have there been any projects that because of creative differences you've had that you have to say, okay, I have to leave this project? And that just happened to me a few times at the end of the year. So I just wanted to touch on it, just the fact that, like, hey, we like the rough better than this, and then the rough is just like the worst thing I could ever imagine putting out. Like, if that's what your barometer is for something that sonically sounds good and interesting and compelling, then I don't want to be a part of your project. And it's not personal. It's just like, I can't imagine making anything sound like that, nor do I know how to do that. So therefore I'm not the right fit. And then you can pridefully stay in it just to make your money. Or you can just bow out and say, keep your money. I'm not the right fit for this. And I did that a couple of times at the end of the year because I didn't want to stress towards the end of the year. And I was on projects that I was really loving and enjoying, and I didn't want to take the energy away from that. So the minute that I got caught wind of that we're just not the right fit, I definitely did. And it felt good, and did it very respectfully. And it was a good exercise for me moving into this year. It's also some of the things I was thinking about this week, getting into this conversation. Like, we talked about a few of the things. Another one was learning how to say no based on that. When you just know you're not right for the job, I'm like, let someone else. Don't waste people's money. Like, for me, I think it's going to be I don't even want the money. Like, other people will say, no, I want to get paid for the work I did. Like, I respect that too. For me, I think I'm just going to bow out and let them spend that on some other mixer. So,
yeah, I think
someone else can get paid.
And that's a good thing that is very hard to do, no matter what level you're at, because there's so much pull to do the thing, to make the money, to what if it's really successful and then I turned it down. But it's actually a really powerful, beautiful thing to be able to go, I don't think this is right. Keep the money. It's all love, and just push it on to the next thing. But it's hard to do that. And that, by the way, this is also when people talk about making money. Look, if you are a house engineer somewhere and you're on a salary and it's someone else's thing, and you got to make your money, or you have very few gigs and you need to pay rent, these are different conversations. But as soon as you can do things that where you have enough money to say, this project isn't right for me, that's a really great thing to be able to do and start doing early on in your career, and do it with love and let it go. Because the truth is, if you don't love something, you're not going to do very good work. I don't think I know anybody who doesn't, who does their best work on things that they don't love. Like, it's the only way to do what we do at the highest level. I mean, you could be an accountant or a plumber or other things and just like do the mechanics of it. But this thing, being involved with making art, being in the entertainment industry, in the music industry, whatever, it's so competitive, and it's so much about the intangibles of excitement when things are happening. If you're not in there and excited, it's very unlikely to be great. And so learning how to say, it's one thing to take on a challenge and go, this isn't what I expected, but I'm going to move with it. And those are important skills to learn as well. But if something is just not right, like just move on from it and learn how to do that. It's a really important thing.
And it's a mindfulness practice too, being aware of when you're working on something and you get that feeling in your gut that you don't even know what to do, like, or that that what you do isn't going to actually get the reaction that you want from this. Let's just be aware of it and back out somehow. I mean, really, you should be listening to the record. Like, in a perfect world, this is what I would do. This is what I would do in a perfect world, which is very unlikely. I would listen to the song, but not only listen to the song, I would actually ask for the session or the stems before agreeing. Because a lot of the time, the song can be great, but the baked in nature of the record is so like distorted in not in a cool way, in a super loud way, that there's just no real room to do anything. And then I would make the decision whether I want to do it or not, right? And that's a side of the relationship or where it came from. I'm kind of talking more like, I'm talking about all the projects. Yeah. I think if I could, in a perfect world, I would assess the record for what it is before.
In a perfect world.
Every time in a perfect world. That'll never happen. It's very rare. Every now and then you get an artist that comes in and like plays you down their record, and it's like, all right, it's time to mix this. And you're like, oh, let's open this one up before, and like, let's see. And if you know the producer, you can go over to the studio that they're working at and check out their sessions and kind of understand what you're getting yourself into. But the projects that I turned down or had to say no to after starting them in December or November, whenever they were, I heard them in the car and my thought was, ooh, these sound wild, but like, I kind of like the song. One of them was from a manager that I'm working with on another project who I like a lot. So I was trying to help out with that. But I knew right away that I was like, I don't know if this is for me. I do think, though, that if I brought what I can bring to the table to this could be a better record than it is sonically. So I definitely felt like if they liked, that's the thing. If you go into it imagining that they're going to like or love what you bring to the table, that's the only thing we can bank on, right? So I went into this not paying attention to the rough and saying, I think this is how the mix should feel, and they didn't agree. So that's fine. We can go our separate ways then creatively. I'm not going to be the person that just gives you that rough a tiny bit louder and more distorted than it already is, right? I know the times when the rough is great, then you're only doing that 5-10% to make it that much better. But this example is not that. This example is this needs a complete overhaul. And if you're not open to that, then we need to part ways. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Well, and you're speaking from the mixer perspective of, wouldn't it be nice to have more of a conversation and investment, and let's talk about what the project's supposed to be on every mix. I, as a producer, most of the time, I always do that. For example, this artist that I mentioned earlier, he's going to come by and he basically said, I want to finish my album with one producer. Do you want to do it? And I said, 100% in principle, but you got to play me everything and let's do it and see what your vision is and see if I'm the right person for it. It's a really important conversation to have. And again, you can't always do it, but the more, especially as a producer and writer, I mean, look, if you're having writing sessions and your young writer, publisher is just setting you up with something, you go kind of do the speed dating thing, that's totally fine too. But at where I'm at in my career, like, I want to have a conversation with the artist. I'd like to have a conversation with the manager or the A&R, whoever's on sort of like the business label side, because getting a sense of who's really pushing for what. And oftentimes I'm getting asked to finish records, which is, okay, who's pushing for this? Does the artist think it's done and the label doesn't think it's done? And so I got to talk to the artist and say, look, I'm not trying to mess up your record. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work, but I love that. I mean, that's part of what I love about the process. You have to be
more picky of what you get involved in, because those projects can take you months versus mine weeks to a month, depending. Can be months, but not months consecutively. Like, I
have a lot more conversations that don't turn into work where I could probably just say yes to all of them or figure out how to say yes and then not do great work, and it would be a long process. And by the way, you as a whatever level you're at, especially as a producer, but I imagine as a mixer as well, there are projects which are like, this looks great, and then you get into it and you're almost done, and then like the notes are 15 rounds and you're kind of pulling your hair out, and you just go, okay, I'm so far into it that I'm not just going to back out now. I'm going to finish the job and then reevaluate the next time it comes around. So, as much as it is like, there's conversations where I go, maybe I'm not the right guy, or, we can't do the deal quite right for the kind of investment of time that I need to put into it, or I'm not as passionate about it. There's also the stuff where you get to the end and you're just like, oh, I should have said no to this a month ago. This one song, I've gone through 3 productions and I'm not very happy with it. And I think they're happy with it, but they don't really know what they want. And I'll just finish it out to the best of my ability and then reevaluate the next time. You don't want to be you always want to leave on a good note. If you're saying no early on, you say it with love. You say, I don't think I'm the right guy. I appreciate you guys. Keep me posted, whatever. Yeah. Or if it's at the end, you just get it done at the end. And then the next time they come around, you go, I don't think I'm the right guy for this. And that happens a lot. But those conversations of like really getting invested in what the project is and what they want to do is what I love about it. I mean, there are producers, I think, like producers and writers and people like, I don't know, Pharrell. I mean, and like, I don't know Pharrell, but Pharrell has so much of his own artistic thing that he puts in to a lot of the records that I think there are producers out there that are almost more artists. They're much more artists than I am. So I like to go in and help someone achieve their vision. And if they don't have a vision, it's not great for me. But there are producers that go in and go, I can provide the vision for you. I can give you the aesthetic, and then you can. So it's different for everybody, I think, is the point.
Thanks for watching. Just a reminder, all of this content is free. There's no secret knowledge here. We don't have sponsors. We don't run ads. We don't have a Patreon. All that we ask in return is that you share it with somebody. Thanks.